Well, the lake certainly looks better than it did a year ago. I think it's time for another Minsi Lake update. Well, 2020 has certainly had its challenges, but it didn't slow things down too much here at the lake. How about we check in with Jim Wilson with Friends of Minsi Lake to see what work has been done and what we can expect in the future.
So since we last met early in the year, the Fish and Boat Commission has refilled the lake. It's not quite up to full pull. They're still monitoring saturation levels in the new dam, but it's up enough that it was stocked with up to 4,000 8 to 10 inch trout for the opening day of trout season. Browns, rainbow, and brook trout were stocked. Throughout the course of the summer, they also stocked, Fish and Boat, several thousand largemouth bass and golden shiner fingerlings. And this was the first in a 5-year restocking program. So in the next 4 years, they will repeat stockings of largemouth bass and golden shiners, and then ultimately yellow perch, black crappie, and pumpkin seed and bluegills. So the fishery is on its way to maturing. The trout season opened without a hitch. Well, kind of without a hitch. It was a crazy year with COVID, but it opened up. The lake was busy as ever with anglers, boaters, stand-up paddleboarders, picnickers, hikers, walkers. So it was a great year for recreational activities here at the lake. So last year we completed, Fish and Boat completed an in-lake habitat restoration project where they built over 640 large-scale fish habitat structures within the lake bed, the empty lake bed at that time. It was filled up, of course, early this year, and so phase 2 of that project was the construction of small-scale structures which were built outside of the lake. So this year, over the course of 2 days in July, Fish and Boat Commission, along with staff from Northampton County Parks and Rec and Public Works staff from Upper Mount Bethel Township, built 100 porcupine cribs, which are fish refuge habitat structures that were then taken out onto the lake and sunk into the bottom of the lake. And again, they're for fish refuge and the recruitment of panfish and game fish. We also put out on the lake 10 turtle basking platforms. Those were built by youth from the Delaware River Shad Fishermen's Youth Adventure Program a couple of years ago. And so they've been waiting to get out here on the lake, the platforms that is. And so they were placed out on the lake during those same 2 days with Fish and Boat. They had 2 motorboats that took those structures out onto the lake, sunk the porcupine cribs in the bottom of the lake, and then floated the turtle basking platforms on the surface water. So the platforms will be for turtles to climb up there, rest, increase their body temperatures and metabolism, and for their overall health. So this project, this fish and turtle habitat restoration project, which is Fish and Boat's Cooperative Habitat Improvement Program, was such a success and such a large-scale partnership that it received a couple of accolades. One was earlier in the year, the National Fish Habitat Partnership recognized this project in the lake as one of the 10 top waters to watch in 2020. They recognized projects that engaged federal, state, local, and nonprofit organizations to improve fish and wildlife habitat in streams, reservoirs, rivers, and shores across the country with a diverse partnership. And Minsi Lake was one of just 2 east of the Mississippi River to get those accolades, so we were really pleased with that. We're also one of 5 awardees for the Northeast Pennsylvania Environmental Partnership. We'll be receiving that award on November 19th. Again, just 5 organizations throughout the northeast part of the state, and that's a partnership of the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. Now that the fish habitat project is pretty much wrapped up, we may be building some more porcupine cribs and turtle platforms with Fish and Boat next year. Our focus is now shifting to the recreational improvements here at the lake. So Friends of Minsi Lake has partnered with Northampton County Parks and Rec to accomplish that task. The county holds grants from the Commonwealth and committed funds from county coffers for phases 1 and 2. This will be an extended project over the course of time, multiple phases. Phase 1, which is in motion right now, is the design, engineering, construction, delivery and installation of handicap accessible fishing piers. We'll have one on each of the jetties. We have a jetty here on the south shore and there's a jetty on the west shore. So those accessible fishing piers will be attached to those jetties. We will also have an accessible kayak launch, which will most likely be attached to the bulkhead on the east side of the lake, which will accommodate accessible kayak users. We will also be installing a pedestrian bridge, an accessible pedestrian bridge, which will span the new spillway. So for the first time ever in the 50 years that Minsi Lake has been here, we will have a complete loop hike around the entire lake. So the spillway, the new spillway is over 120 feet wide. So this bridge will be about 120 some odd feet long, will span the spillway, creating about a 3-mile loop hike. So folks will be able to walk from the west side for the first time ever, connect to the east side of the lake, walk out across the east side parking lot to the east side trailhead, and then continue on the lake trail all the way around the north side of the lake. So that'll be an incredible improvement to the recreational facilities here at the lake. That project, those structures will be fabricated early in the new year and installed here at the lake in next spring, so the spring of 2021. Phase 2, which we hope to be able to bid out by the end of this year, will include restrooms, handicap accessible restrooms, composting toilets on hopefully the east and west side depending on costs, improved lighting on the west shore, on the west parking lot, improving the lighting system there, a pavilion, a picnic pavilion, some landscaping, and then ancillary costs associated with that like engineering, permitting, and design work. Subsequent phases over the course of time will include improvements to the trail. In addition to the spillway bridge, we will replace bridges on the trail system on the north side of the lake. The plan is to develop an accessible, a handicap accessible section of the lake trail on the west side of the lake, so about 1,400 linear feet. We're hoping to build and planning to build a boardwalk system, 8-foot wide boardwalk system over that rocky terrain that would terminate at an observation deck overlooking the lake. So these are projects in the future. So this year we were able to engage some scouts here at Minsi Lake and throughout the Greenway. The Minsi Lake is the centerpiece of the Minsi Lake Greenway, which includes Bear Swamp Park, an archery complex immediately to the west of the lake, and then the Tots Gap Conservation Area, which is 550 acres the county owns immediately adjacent to the northeast part of the lake. So that Greenway encompasses some 1,200 acres of public space. The Scouts built, and with the help of Lehigh Valley Audubon Society, we installed 2 barred owl nesting boxes at Bear Swamp. And then Scouts, we had 2 Eagle Scouts accomplish some projects here at Minsi Lake this year. One was the construction and installation of 5 journaling stations, and you can see one behind me. Actually, there's 2 behind me. There's one on the west side of the lake, and there's 2 on the east side of the lake. So those are stations where folks, benches essentially, where folks can saddle up onto the bench. There's an interpretive panel that is the tabletop that interprets with illustrated drawings and narrative the different fish and wildlife and plant species at the lake. So kids, adults alike can record their thoughts, journal a little, sketch. So the second Eagle Scout project here at the lake this year was a young man from a local scout troop replaced the old Pliskwitz trout hatchery kiosk, which was on the north side of the lake on on the lake trail. In the early 60s, the Poliskowitz family had a trout hatchery on one of the feeder streams of East Fork Martins Creek. At some point in the past, previous Eagle Scout constructed and installed a little interpretive kiosk there about that trout hatchery, the remains of which still exist off the trail. That deteriorated over the years, so this Eagle Scout replaced that with a new one back in October. So a nice little feature along the trail to learn about some of the cultural history here at the lake. The Lehigh Valley Audubon Society has a very active, small but active habitat committee, and we partnered with those. Friends of Minsi Lake and County Parks and Rec partnered with Lehigh Valley Audubon's Habitat Committee this year to install 2 purple martin towers, one on each side of the lake, the east and west sides of the lake. Each tower contains 18 gourds, little cavity nesting structures, for a total of 36 nesting structures on these 2 towers for purple martins, which are a bird of conservation concern. Fortunately, we were able to have 1 pair nest in one of those structures and successfully raised and fledged 3 young. And even before those young were fledged, a federally licensed bird bander from the valley came up and banded the chicks so that they're, should they show up somewhere in missed nets, being caught in the future, be able to track their movements and their life. In addition to the purple martin towers, we also built and installed with the help of the Audubon Society Habitat Committee, 10 wood duck boxes that have been installed along the north side of the lake. An additional 2 barred owl boxes. The Scouts built 2 earlier in the year, and then later in the year 2 more were built by the Lehigh Valley Audubon Society, and we installed those up in the Tots Gap Conservation Area. And then we also installed, with Lehigh Valley Audubon's help, 12 bluebird nesting boxes here at the lake. We have several, quite a few actually, I think 7 on the west side. I believe there's maybe another 6 or so. 5 on the East Shore Meadow, and then a couple over on the east side of the lake. And every one of those boxes was occupied this year by either bluebirds, house wrens, or tree swallows. So we had a great success with adding songbirds here to the Minsi Lake area. So we're really pleased with that. Additionally, last year, the county and Friends of Minsi Lake partnered with the Pennsylvania Game Commission to install an osprey nesting platform in the big meadow up at Tots Gap Conservation Area. So as the osprey flies, that's not more than a half a mile northeast of the park, of the lake, I should say. And with the help of MedEd, the county purchased a 60 or 65 foot long telephone pole. MedEd provided the installation. They delivered the pole and installed it. Before it was installed, the Game Commission biologist came up from the Southeast Regional Office and attached to the pole a nesting platform, an osprey nesting platform. MedEd installed the tower with a platform on it, and a year later, in the spring of this year, a pair actually did take up housekeeping on that platform and successfully raised and fledged 3 young ospreys. So that was exciting to be able to provide that kind of wildlife habitat here in the Minsi Lake Greenway. So I mentioned earlier the Minsi Lake Greenway, which encompasses some 1,200 acres of public lands here in the northeast corner of the county. The county is in the process of developing a Greenway plan to connect these 3 parcels, these 3 parks, Bear Swamp Park and Archery Complex, Minsi Lake Park, and Tots Gap Conservation Area. They are contiguous, but there isn't really an interconnected trail system. So we're looking into developing that, a system like that, an interconnected trail system, to improve the archery facilities at Bear Swamp, build some trailhead parking, and just improve recreational access to this incredible greenway here in northeastern Northampton County. So we're really looking forward to the new year, 2021. We'll be installing those accessible recreational facilities and moving forward from there. So it's been a great year, 2020, despite the coronavirus. We accomplished quite a bit here at the lake, and we'll move forward into 2021.
Well, a lot of good things happening for sure. Be sure to tune in for the next Minsi Lake update. I'm George Schauer.